I can't believe this show is already halfway done. I mean, it feels like it literally started like a couple of weeks ago. Technically, it did, but yeah, there are 10 episodes in this season, and this is episode 5, and we're pretty much halfway through the season, which is so sad. By the way, what's up, you guys? This is One Classic Gamer here. Welcome you to another review. This is going to be for episode 5 of season 3 of Better Call Saul. Now, when watching this episode, I'm gonna be honest. I felt this episode felt a lot like the one episode in Breaking Bad. I don't know if you guys remember, but in Breaking Bad, there was that one episode with like the fly that was like the contam, like it was like a contaminant or something like that, or like it was like a hazard, and so Jesse and Walter had to get rid of it. And a lot of people have said that in Breaking Bad, that was the most filler episode in the entire series. This episode felt kind of like that, in my opinion. I am going to be honest. This is probably the weakest episode in the season, but I still like this episode a lot because the ending is so freaking great. I mean, Jimmy, this whole episode is basically just Jimmy and Chuck fighting each other in court. That's what this entire episode was. And there's some good tidbits in there, like I don't know, they just said his name like a second ago, and like the last scene, but I forgot his name. But the one tall black dude from Breaking Bad, who was like the security guard for Saul, he's in this episode, and it was so hilarious to see him. Oh my god. He's in this episode. We're starting to see like Jimmy go to the one vet guy to he went to the vet guy, I think, to actually, yeah, he went to the vet guy to request for someone who was like sleight of hand so that they can pull off the whole trick that they did, which I'm gonna be honest, I'm not sure if that's legal for him to be doing that, but man, I would be lying if I said that, if I didn't say that, Jimmy didn't sabotage his own brother. I mean, he sabotaged his brother hardcore in this episode. I mean, all the way up until this point, Chuck has been saying, "I'm gonna get my brother disembarred because he committed a felony and all that, and he doesn't deserve to be a lawyer anymore." Oh my god, I can't talk for shit. So this entire episode is basically just the fight between the two of them, and the whole episode takes place in court. And for the most part, I'm gonna say this is a pretty slow episode, but the payoff at the end is so great because Jimmy knows his brother. He's known him long enough. He knows about how his condition is bullshit, and he uses that against Chuck by hiring the one tall black dude that I was talking about before to bump into Chuck, place a cell phone battery inside his breastplate, and he did that because he wanted to prove to the jury or whatever that his brother's condition is fake, because it is. Like, we've sort of had a couple hints about it. Like, they haven't talked about it 100%, but throughout the past couple seasons, they've talked about, or they haven't really talked about, but yeah, actually they have. There was the scene where Chuck was in the hospital, and the one doctor had the electric pager with her just to see if Chuck would react to it. And I don't really know what it is, but the show's starting to make it seem like maybe Chuck is just crazy and he made up his own medical condition and baited his brother. I mean, it's still one of those things where I think Jimmy still has to suffer punishment because he still committed a felony. Actually, no, they have no proof of that. but he did break into his brother's house. Like, he kicked his door down. He destroyed his property. So Jimmy still has to suffer, or not suffer, but be punished in some way. But by showing the courtroom that Chuck's disease is bullshit, then what I picked up is that they assume now that Chuck is just crazy and he hates his brother, and he's assuming that he switched the dates for the whole Mesa Verde thing, and that Jimmy didn't commit a felony. That's basically what happened in this episode. Really, there's nothing else that really happened in this episode. The whole episode took place in the courtroom, and it was rather slow. But like I said, the payoff at the end was just, it was so great. Seeing the flashback scene in the beginning, we've had quite a bit of flashbacks in the show now. This was probably one of the weirder, kind of funny flashbacks to me. I don't know, it kind of made me laugh because it's like, apparently when, what it is when Chuck divorced with his wife, he sort of made up his own condition because, I don't know, I mean, I guess we all deal with divorce and family deaths and all that in our own way. So I guess what I'm picking up is what happened was when Chuck divorced with his wife, what ended up happening was he, I don't know, like, assumed that he was allergic to electricity when really he wasn't. It was just him the whole time. I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird thing, and I know I'm doing a really bad job at explaining it, because truly I have no idea, but this show, it, like, talks about it, like, it does a good job at telling the story about Chuck's condition, and they do a good job. They've done a pretty good job at maintaining that, still that big sense of, like, that grounded sense of reality, because there's not, like, the thing about this episode is that this episode is, you know, brother versus brother, with one brother being allergic to fucking electricity and shit, and them spending the entire, like, time just talking about that, and him sabotaging his brother. And the way this show handles it, it doesn't handle it, it's not as ridiculous as you may think. I mean, I'm probably doing a really bad job at explaining all this stuff, because really that's all this episode was. It was just brother versus brother, and Jimmy sabotaging Chuck and proving to the jury that Chuck is indeed, doesn't have electric sensitivity or whatever this disease is, and that making them, like, convincing them that he's just crazy and is trying to say that his brother committed a felony because he hates his brother. I mean, Chuck even he fucking blows up at the end of this episode when he sees that the battery is inside his breastplate pocket. He freaks out. Like, he's like, he's like, I fucking hate my brother. He doesn't actually say that, but he's like, I divorced my wife, and, you know, you don't deserve to be a lawyer, blah, 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 blah. Like, Chuck just freaks out. He flips out in this episode. And then at the end, there's, like, a moment of silence, and everyone just looks at him, and they're like, yeah. And you're like, damn. Jimmy won. I had a feeling Jimmy would win, you know, this battle, because they were, in the last episode, when Kim got them to confess that there was a second tape, you know, there was like a moment of happiness between the two of them, and in this episode, I just sort of had that feeling that Jimmy was going to win, because this is like the midpoint of the season now, so, you know, it's gone on for far enough, so I had a feeling like they have to just cut this and end this right now, and they did. And the payoff at the end of this episode was so great. But everything leading up wasn't amazing. This wasn't a terrible episode. I still enjoyed this episode. if I had to give it a score, I'd give it a 7 out of 10. It's not bad. It's just a lot like that bug episode from Breaking Bad. It has a couple of good moments in it, but overall, it's the one filler episode I feel like we're going to get in this entire series, and the rest of them are going to be amazing episodes. That was my initial thoughts upon watching this episode. Either that or, I was also watching Daredevil in between, so my mind could have been fixated more on Daredevil, when I was watching this episode, so that might have affected my thoughts of it, but like my initial thoughts, it's not a terrible episode. It's still a good episode. The show is still fucking amazing, but this is probably the weaker episode, but it's still good. So, yeah, that's my review of Better Call Saul, Season 3, Episode 5. If you guys enjoyed this, please comment, rate, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.